Hey folks, welcome to Seaway Whiskey Wire. Tonight on the bar, we've got Professor Plum's Honey Blonde Hopped Whiskey from Okanagan Springs Distillery. Stay tuned. Well, hey folks, thanks for coming back after the intro. I'm Tyler, and tonight on the bar, we've got ourselves a release from Okanagan Springs Distillery, located out in beautiful Vernon, British Columbia, Canada. And it is another whiskey that started its life off as beer, with the Professor Plum's Pioneer County Process Honey Blonde Hopped Whiskey. But before I get into the specs and overview of this release, and a little bit of background on Okanagan Springs Distillery, if you have yourself anything from Okanagan Springs Distillery, maybe you have the Professor Plum's release, maybe you have Lady of Fair Canadian Single Malt Whiskey, maybe you have some of their bourbon style whiskey and you want to pour yourself a dram and drink along with me, please do so. I encourage it. It makes life a heck of a lot better for you guys on the other end, and I enjoy you guys drinking along with me, especially when it's good Canadian craft whiskey. So with that, what can I tell you guys about Okanagan Springs Distillery? For those of you who aren't too familiar with it, I can tell you it is family owned and operated. It was founded back in 2004, and they really birthed the distillery off the idea of using 100% locally grown fruits and grains to make the premium world-class spirits. And they're just a tractor ride away from the orchards and the fields where the grains and ingredients are grown there. And their farm to flask distillery offers a selection of more than 40 internationally awarded spirits, ranging from everything from single malt whiskeys to bourbon style whiskeys to just about anything like this release here. And we're going to get into this release now. This has got a tremendous name. It's always a mouthful with some of these Canadian distilleries making some of these limited releases and whatnot. So the official name of this release from Okanagan Springs is Professor Plum's Pioneer County Process Honey Blonde Hopped Whiskey. And I'm going to abridge that down to Professor Plum's for this review, just so I'm not saying it all the time. So what can I tell you guys about this release here from Okanagan Springs, this Professor Plum's release? So it started its life off as honey blonde ale that is distilled into whiskey, and they bottle it at 42.7% ABV, non-chill filtered, no color added, just the way we like it. And they mature it for 9 years in toasted charred white oak casks, and then they aged it for an additional 1 year in plum brandy casks that, the plum brandy that they make right there on site at Okanagan Springs. And, it's an interesting one. I think as the story goes, it was something that was started by the father of the family, and they kind of forgot about it and then found it years later, kind of maybe during inventory or whatnot, and they bottled it. And so it is a very limited release here, and once it's gone, it's gone. But it's a very, very interesting release, and I love the fact that, again, it started its life off as a beer. And they I guess they're doing this quite frequently, but they make their honey blonde ale, distilled it into whiskey, and then bottled it here after aging for 9 years plus an additional year of finishing in the brandy cask. So very, very cool indeed. With that, let's move on to the presentation of Professor Plum's release here from Okanagan Springs. I really like this one. It's a pretty sleek looking bottle. It's got a really nice looking label on it. Not a ton of information, but if you want the information, head over to their website. They got some killer information on this. And I do love how they got the Buy BC logo over here. British Columbia is doing some great things for craft distillers, and just making sure that if you want to have the authenticity of calling yourself a British Columbia made distillery or made spirit, you have to do everything in the province. You can't source anything from outside. It has to be 100% done in the province of British Columbia. So hats off to the folks at Okanagan Springs for doing that. But also, I think hats off to the province of British Columbia for doing that as well. I know the rules are very strict, talking to some other folks over there from Sons of Vancouver and whatnot, that they're very strict with their policies and procedures to get that distinction in your spirit. With that, let's move on to the pour. I'm going to get into the color here. Pop the top on this release here from Okanagan Springs. Tongue-in-cheek names, I love it. The Professor Plum, kind of has that clue thing going on for it there, but finishing plum brandy, it all makes sense. All right, we're going for a closer look. I'm telling you right now, even just pouring it now, the aromas in the bar. Okay, we'll get to that in a minute. Let's go in for a closer look. Beautiful, beautiful liquid. Bright yellow gold color to it here. Dare I say beer-like? I mean, come on. All natural again. I don't know if the camera's picking it up. I definitely have some particles and stuff floating around in there. Again, non-chill filtered, no color added, just the way we like it. All right. Okay, let's move into the nose on Professor Plum's release here from Okanagan Springs Distillery in beautiful Vernon, British Columbia, Canada, and see what we can pull out of the nose on this release here. Again, this is beer that's now distilled into whiskey. So I'm expecting some interesting stuff, and hopefully you got something good in your glass. So let's dive into it and see what we can pull out of it. On the nose. It definitely has some maltiness to it. A little bit of bitter hops on the nose. It has that really nice vanilla. Honey. Deep honey, rich honey. Brown sugar. Overripe plums, a little bit of red grapes and whatnot. I get some banana. And then a big dose of green apple on there too. But that hoppiness, that bitterness on the nose, it's just there. It's almost got a bit of a bready note too. Maybe got a bit of like roasted almonds. Yeah, very interesting indeed. Nothing abrasive on the nose. Again, 42.7% ABV, but it doesn't have any alcoholic note to it. It smells like concentrated beer, concentrated honey blonde ale. And I think that's wonderful. All right, well, I think I've spoken enough about the nose. The aromas are filling the bar here, and I'm dying to get into this here and see what we can get out of the palate on Professor Plum's release from Okanagan Springs Distillery, located in British Columbia, Canada, Vernon, British Columbia, Canada. So, hope you got something good in your glass to drink along with me. Cheers to your health, and let's get into it. I held that for a long time because it has lots going on for it. First off, at 42.7% ABV, it's not like clinging to the sides of your mouth. It's not oily, not like chewy or anything like that, but it has a good bit of viscosity to it. It does kind of hang on there a little bit, but it is very, very flavorful, and the flavors really do hang on very, very nice and lengthy on this one. I'm going to say there's no, alcoholic notes to this, no abrasiveness. I like to kind of get that out of the way at the beginning of it. It's all aged out of it, in my opinion. Really, really nice liquid here. Starting off, beautiful, beautiful, creamy vanilla, like syrupy, almost like a coffee creamer kind of note to it there. Like really, like not artificial, but like it's like just like a French vanilla note to it. The honey, beautiful clover honey, very rich, very mouth-watering and coating there. And then you get that little bit of bitterness kind of behind it there, which is, again, it's reminiscent of that, that remembrance of beer, and really showcasing the fact that this was distilled from beer in that note. We're going to go in for another sip because I just have to. Yeah, once you get past that honey note and that hoppy note, plums, rich plums, apples, a little bit of banana. I get some black licorice note in there too, on the back end. And then just like that little, it just finishes off just a really nice, little bit of a bitter note in there as well. Very nice indeed. All right, let's go, we're going to transition now into the finish, and I'll give you guys my final thoughts and opinions on this release from Okanagan Springs. Again, Professor Plum's Pioneer County Process Honey Blonde Hopped Whiskey that started its life off as Honey Blonde Ale. So, one more sip, we'll go in for the finish. Finish-wise, definitely a medium finish. Almost kind of, dare I say, kind of lingering into that long finish. Maybe not quite there, but it does have a lot going on for it. Beautiful, sweet, smooth, and finishes like a beer. It's just concentrated beer, in my opinion, and it's really, really, really good. That 42% is a perfect spot for it, and I see why they chose that. I know I was a little bit, apprehensive about it originally. I'm like, under 43%. All that kind of stuff, the whiskey nerd, the whiskey enthusiast, the whiskey snob, dare I say, in me, anything under 46%, I get a little bit apprehensive about, but you know what? I think this hits perfectly. This is very close to being the beer of the summer for me, kind of right behind the Sons of Vancouver Wheated Rye, but this is definitely one that I've been picking away at here and sharing with folks because it is just so cool. It is, again, it's a malternative. It's beer. It's not, I guess it's not really a malternative, but I mean, it started its life off as beer and goes into distilled into whiskey. I think that's just an interesting story in itself, but the fact that it's excellent is even better. But I've talked an awful lot about this. I'm obviously going to have a favorable thing to say about it. Let's move into the value proposition because I think this is, again, what makes or breaks some of these special releases, especially limited releases like this one here, because as Tyler says, Tyler Dyke says, once it's gone, it's gone. They're not making any more of this stuff. So if you really like the profile I'm speaking about here, guys, go out and get yourself a bottle today. This here, value-wise, comes in at $75. It's a unique alternative whiskey, and I definitely recommend the Adventure. I love any kind of whiskey that starts its life off in beer. I've only had a couple of them, but anything I've had has been bangers. Lastras stout whiskey, excellent. This here, excellent from Okanagan Springs. I think it's just worth it if you're, getting in. If you want to expand your whiskey journey a little bit, try something different, try something outside the box, and try a distillery that is, doing really cool stuff, really innovative stuff, and breaking the mold essentially on some of this craft distilling market here and try and just being kind of themselves. And I really appreciate that from the folks over at Okanagan Springs Distillery in Vernon, British Columbia for doing that and trying something different and really flipping this over to me because they could have sent me anything. They sent me this release here, and I'm really glad they did because it is excellent. And I'm telling you right now, if you're interested at all in this, I would suggest just go to their website and check it out because it's definitely worth the adventure. There you go. That's my review of Professor Plum's Pioneer County Processed Honey Blonde Hopped Whiskey from Okanagan Springs Distillery in Vernon, British Columbia, Canada. And I really hope that some of these distilleries start using, a little bit lesser names on their products. But you know what? I love it. I love the tongue-in-cheek piece behind it here, and I love the father-son aspect of the story of the cask went in, they lost them, they found them, and then they finished them in plum brandy, and away you go with this beautiful, beautiful liquid in the bottle today. So yeah. Hopefully you like this review and enjoyed this, guys. If you like what we're doing here at CO Whiskey Wire, you guys know the drill. Like and subscribe down below. And hey, don't forget to check me out on Instagram at CO Whiskey Wire for more content. And don't forget to go check out Okanagan Springs Distillery. I'll put all their information down in the comment section below as well, or the description section, and you guys can feel free to stick it out there. Have you tried anything else from Okanagan Springs? There's something that I definitely should check out. I've heard great things about their bourbon style whiskey. I've heard some great things about Lady of Ferret. Anything you guys want me to try, throw it down in the comments and I will take a look at it for sure. And if you guys are still hanging around this long in the video, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Love coming down to the basement after a long days of work. It's been a very long week for me at work, but you know what? Get to come downstairs and shoot off a video here and have a great time trying some great Canadian spirits from great Canadian distilleries. And sip the North. I've been pushing it a lot here, and this is it. We elbows up and sip the North, folks. If you haven't tried a Canadian whiskey, or you've been kind of thinking about trying something new from a Canadian distillery, I urge you to go out and sip the North and definitely try something new, especially from Okanagan Springs Distillery. Now with that, guys, I'll bid you adieu. I'm going to go do some editing now and finish up my lovely dram of Professor Plum's Honey Blonde Hopped Whiskey. So cheers, all the best, and I'll see you around. Bye for now, guys.